Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie Stewart, and today I'm going to be going over some Photoshop basics. I'm sure most of us have definitely at least heard of Photoshop, if not had some type of experience with it. I personally have not had a lot of experience with it, so I did want to learn more about it because I do feel like it's something that can be useful in our career path. So what is Photoshop? If any of you don't know what it is a photo editing type of application. There is a desktop version and a mobile version as well. The mobile version is pretty limited as to what the desktop version has, but it's still a good option if you don't have access to a computer. Today we're actually going to be working in the desktop version, but the mobile app is something to also play around with if you like working on your phone. So Photoshop is used for various things. Like I have listed here, we have photo editing, removing backgrounds of pictures when you want to cut something out or single it out, manipulating photos, enhancing images, and just creating different types of digital art and graphic designs. I feel that it's something we can use in creating different type of documents that are more visually heavy. So, like we have here, a print ad or even a online ad, some type of advertisement, some type of flyer, brochure, you know, poster, anything that needs a lot of visual elements that needs to be edited. I feel that Photoshop can come in handy for. Okay, now to jump into Photoshop basics. So this is kind of what we're going to sort of have a tutorial over today. It just includes a lot of basic elements of Photoshop to where you can make your own images. Bear with me, I know this is really rough, but I'm kind of a beginner with Photoshop as well. So we're gonna start by going over, you would just click open file on yours, but we're gonna go ahead and click new file. We're gonna click default Photoshop size. They do have the orientation over here on the right. They have landscape or portrait. I'm gonna be working in portrait. They have some other different details you can go with. One that's important though is your background color. So if you know you don't wanna work with white, they have different ones you can choose from. If you want a color, you just click this box and you can choose what color you want. I'm going with kind of like a more peachy color for mine since I've done it a couple times, actually a little more. There we go. Then you click create and we're ready to start. So this is going to be your background, obviously. So over here on the left is a lot of different icons. I'm only gonna go over a few of these today, but there's a million tutorials out there for every single thing. Time constraints though. We have a bar at the top, and on the right is where we will also be working pretty heavily. One of the most important aspects of all of this is this bottom right corner. So channels and paths are kind of a little more complex for me. We won't be diving into that, but the layers is going to be one of the most important parts. As it says, the layers are going to be everything you're going to add into the document. And so, if you add in a picture, it's going to be a layer. If you add in, a piece of text, it's going to be a layer. And so this can get pretty messy pretty fast if you have a lot of elements in your document. But you can also, merge everything together if you really like how it is. Clean it up a little bit, but anyways, so let's just go ahead and get started. So this is the background, this is the first slate. If you decided you didn't like the color that you picked and you want to change it, this is a little too pink for me, I think. You come over here to properties and then you scroll down to fill and you click this box, and then right here, of course, we have the same thing as before to where we can change it a little bit. Once you have your background, then you want to start adding in other visual elements, pictures, text, etc. So I know I did not mention this before, but this is like a mock-up of a flyer for a local coffee company. And so I got the inspiration from a picture that I have of one of their drinks that I took. And so we're going to start with that. The easiest way I've found to insert pictures or any type of visuals into your document is right here. I have just a folder of everything I'm going to use. As you can see right here, I have this picture of the drink. I'm just going to grab it and drag it over. And super easily, it adds itself as a layer, as you can see over here in the right bottom corner. And then you have your image. So I'm going to start by showing you how to edit a picture that you insert in. So if you don't want to edit kind of the whole document, you just want to edit this picture, make sure your picture is selected, go to the top and click image, go to adjustments, and right here is a whole list of different things that you can do to this picture. Brightness, contrast, exposure, etc. For me, I'm going to do brightness contrast. One thing I really like is that as you do it, you can see what you're doing to the picture. So I'm just going to up the brightness a little bit and also up the contrast just a bit. And then I really want this green to pop. So I'm also going to go and fix the saturation up a little bit. Just to make it, not too crazy. Just so the green looks a little more saturated, I guess you would say. And then last thing I'm going to do is up the highlights just a bit. And there we have it, our edited picture. And if you see right here in the bottom right corner, you can see everything that we have done right here. It'll show you, and you can click this tiny little arrow and it will take that away so that things don't get too crazy. So the whole purpose of this picture is I want to cut out this cup to, as you can see. So now I can show you how to do that. Photoshop has a lot of different ways to do it. If you look over here on the left-hand side, they have this rectangular tool, they have the lasso tool, or they have this quick selection tool, which is what I'm going to be working with today. And this allows you to cut out your background from, an element that you want to keep. So I'm going to go ahead and right click this, and I'm going to click quick selection tool. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to color around everything around the cup that I don't want to be in the image. So if I just want the cup, I want everything else to be colored in. So you're gonna want this big like zigzag line that you see. You want it all the way around the rectangle or the shape, of your picture. And then you just want this tiny line to outline your cup as well. And if we zoom in, you can see that it's kind of like not perfect. And anywhere that it's not perfect, you can just zoom in and kind of, oops, I did the wrong thing, my bad. If you see that I went in too far, like you see the bottom of the cup is cut off, you can come up to the top and click this minus, and this actually reselects it so that that image will show up. Once you have it as good as you want it, you can see we have the whole outside of the picture has the squiggly zigzag line around it, and then it has it around the actual image. So then once you have all of that complete, you're going to come over to the bottom right corner and you're going to click this rectangle with a circle in it. It says add layer mask. You're going to go ahead and click that, and as you can see, this is the opposite of what we want. So you're going to come over here, make sure that your picture is selected, and you're going to click Command I. All right, so now that we have our cup all cut out, so now we're going to add in another element so I can show you a couple more tips and tricks. we're gonna add in this frame, just drag it and drop it like I did the matcha. And then, so what I want to do with this is I want to change its color and I want to fill it. Okay, I want it to be a white frame filled. So in order to do that, to start by making it white, there's a way to add a filter onto your document that can adjust the colors, kind of how we did where we just adjusted the color of the buttercup. It'll add a filter either onto your whole document or onto one layer. So to do that, make sure nothing is selected. Go back to the bottom right and you're going to click this circle and it's going to say create new fill. Click it and it has all of these different things like I mentioned, colors, brightness, and we're going to click hue and saturation. And so then what we're going to do is, if you see right here, it has different kind of colors you can mess with, right? Right now, if I do it all the way to white, it's going to do the whole document. However, if I just want it to be that rectangle frame, I'm going to go down here, and if it's above the rectangular frame right here, I click this button right here, and it will clip it to only affect the layer below it. So if I wanted it to be on the matcha picture, I would just take this and I would drag it. If you hold down left on your mouse, you drag it to the bottom and it would instead do the filter on the matcha drink. But obviously, since I want it on the frame, we're going to keep it how it is. So we have it white. Now we want to fill it. So before you do that, you're going to have to click on the frame layer, right click, and rasterize. This, I believe, lowers the quality of the image a bit. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it allows you to do some things to it that you wouldn't be able to. Different elements, mess with different elements. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but this is what has worked for me. So yeah, so to fill it, you come to the left side and we're going to click this color pick tool, and I'm going to go all the way to the corner for white, try to get F. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to come to the left hand side and click this paint bucket tool. Then I'm going to come over to the frame and just fill it all in, and there we go, we have our frame. And so I want this to go behind the buttercup drink. So in order to move stuff around, if you want to rotate it or make it bigger or smaller, to make it bigger or smaller, you can come over here to the right where it says transform, and you can mess with these pixels. Like if I wanted to change it to 1,000, you see it makes this a lot smaller. So that's one way you can do it. If you want to change kind of the transformations of the pictures easier, in my opinion, you can go to the top and click edit. Make sure in the bottom right, the layer that you want to mess with or you want to change, is selected. Go to edit, go to transform, and you have all of these different things you can do to it. Flip it, rotate it. So if I want to make it bigger or smaller, I click scale and I can make it bigger or smaller. I feel like that's just a lot easier than having to mess with the numbers over here, personally. So for the white frame, I want to rotate it because I want it to go kind of be able to act as like a frame. And then I also want to make it a little bit bigger, about right here. And so as you can see, the frame is sitting on top of the cup. I want the cup to be on top of that. So in order to do that, we come back to the bottom right corner where we have all of our layers. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, it really is like a layer from top to bottom. So the background is the very bottom layer. And as you add more layers, those are technically what is on top. So if we want the matcha picture to be on top of the frame, we have to move it in the layers area. So you just left click and hold down and bring it all the way on top, and then it can go right on top. As you can see, I need to you know, make it a little smaller. Anything where you're doing any sort of editing, whatever, it's always trial and error with what you want. So yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Adding text is also usually essential in any document, so we might as well learn here how to do it as well. It's pretty straightforward, as it is for inserting texts in any scenario. But you come over here to the left hand side, you click this T. If you right click it, it gives you different styles of different ways of doing it, but if you just click it, it's just going to give you the regular horizontal. You know, you can type in what you want it to say, and if you want to change elements of your text, you just go ahead and highlight it, come over here to the right. We come to properties as usual, right here in the middle. If you scroll down, you can see different things like the font size, type. So I'm going to change this to a font called Party. They have a lot of fonts on here. I'm going to use this font called Party. I'm also going to play with the size. I obviously want it a lot bigger if it's going to be my title. That looks like it's way too big, so that's a little better. And then I also want to change the color of it. And to change the color, you can either click color right here, or you can just mess around with the colors right here on the gradient. And so this is kind of what I want to go for, a darker red. And so that's how you add text. And if you want to add another piece of text that follows the same formatting, the easiest way to do it is to just come down here in the right hand corner in the layers, right click on Mary or whichever layer you want to duplicate, scroll down a little bit, click duplicate layer, and then you can just name it whatever you want. I would name it like the word or phrase you're using. And then it's going to create a duplicate right on top of it that has the same formatting. So you can just write your new word and boom, you have it. And yeah, that's how you add text. I'm going to go ahead and add the other text and kind of speed it up since I already showed you how to add text. If there's any other things I want to mention, I will go ahead to stop and mention that. So alright, so now that I have my other pieces of text on here, there are a couple things that I did want to show. So for this top text, I actually want to color it red to kind of break up all of this black. And if you want it to already be a color that you have in your document, such as I would like it to match this red color I already have up here, you just go ahead and click this color box on the right under properties. And then as you can see, it creates this little dropper. And you can just go and click that color you want. And yeah, it'll match it exactly. So that red, that red is going to be the same. It looks a little lighter because the font is a bit different, but you know, it's pretty close. And then I also want this open to be a little more emphasized than this so it stands out. So to do that, you just highlight it, right click, and if you scroll down, there's a lot of different things you can choose to change the style of the text. So I'm going to click faux bold to make it a little more bold. There's also the italicize option as well. And then, yeah, it's a little more bolded, as you can see. So yeah, that's kind of how you work with text a bit. And now we're going to add in a couple more images. I'm going to add in another image and cut it out. This little coffee shop picture, I'm going to put in the left-hand corner, and I'm going to do it the same way as the matcha, so I'm going to also speed through that since we already went over that. So now we have the picture. You can move the text around as you please. Um, and then, yeah, the last thing I'm going to kind of go over is the types of images that are easy to bring onto Photoshop. I recommend PNGs. I think that they definitely work the easiest. So they're basically pictures that already have a transparent background. So when you bring them up into Photoshop, you don't have to go through the process of taking out the background. So for example, if we look over here in my folder, you can see these ornaments right here has PNG at the end. So if you grab it and drag it into Photoshop, it's just the background's already cut out. You can just transform it to how you want it to fit, and there you go. They're super easy to work with, and it's able to just add, visual elements into your document without a lot of the extra work of having to cut out pictures and such. And yeah, this is just the final product. I hope that this was helpful in some way and at least taught some basic elements of Photoshop. I know it's pretty complicated. It was even hard for me to learn just like basic things such as cutting something out or changing the color of just one element. It can definitely be very daunting, but I think it's something super useful for our career path if we're able to learn how to use it and how to use it well. And the more you practice, the more you'll become comfortable with it. You'll learn new things, you'll learn shortcuts and so forth. So yeah, thank you for watching this video.